we turn this on, what do you like about Amari tonight? Do you think he's gonna be the one, or is CD gonna show out?
Well, for DFS purposes, I think I think Amari is going a little bit under the radar because he's a little bit cheaper on DK than CD is, and obviously all the buzz throughout camp has just been CD skyrocketing in rankings from wide receiver 15. Actually, I'm gonna turn on my light. Never mind. From wide receiver 15 to like 13 to 12 to like sometimes to see him in the top 10 now, which I'm not even totally against. I mean, given his ridiculous upside, but we're looking at a guy like Amari that was better on a per game basis with Dak last year than CD. A guy that's entering his prime. A guy that had an injury but looks like he's completely over it. And I mean, given all the hype that CD has, I figure he's gonna come in with far less ownership than CD with that price tag. So I like him as a leverage play because I view them essentially the same. I don't think the injury is going to be too big of a deal, and Amari is entering his prime. So I'm a big Amari fan tonight, actually.
Okay. So how do you break this game down? Like when I want to play, especially a showdown, you want to try and create the narrative of the game in your head
Yes.
beforehand. So you expect a lot of passing out of Dallas because maybe they're going to be behind, or
Yeah. Well, for me, my captain in my original lineup is actually Amari. So I mean, you don't really know who it's gonna be between a guy like Amari or CD, or even a guy like Mike Evans or Chris Godwin. So I just chose Amari because they are underdogs, and they obviously have a competent offense. I mean, Dak Prescott was QB1 last year when he was healthy, just throwing an insane amount of volume. So I opted for Amari there, and I mean, assuming like keeping with his narrative, given that Amari is going to be a little bit like lower owned, I just pushed into this narrative because I felt like he was a solid captain, and so at that point I was like, okay, they're going to be scoring a lot of points. I'm probably going to want Dak. I don't want to get both Amari and CD, especially if Amari is my captain because that limits upside. I have some interest in Michael Gallup, but I mean, just like ultimately, I expect a high scoring game with a lot of points, but I anticipated that it's going to be towards a guy like Amari versus CD in the Dallas passing attack. What about you?
I see it as more high scoring on the Tampa Bay side.
Yeah.
I think Dallas is going to have a tough time scoring because Dak hasn't been playing the last couple weeks, so he's going to have to get through not only all the rust that he built up over being out last season, but limited preseason action as well. Tom Brady's ready to go. His pass catchers are ready to go. Running backs are ready to go. Whole team is back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're at home. That's why I have Rojo as my captain.
Yeah.
Super cheap. I can fit Brady and Dak, and then I get if you AB in there as Brady's option, who I think can come down with even if he only has 7 catches, Brady likes him in the red zone, so maybe he gets a touchdown or 2.
Mm-hmm.
But then with Dak, you can get CD and Gallup. So I like that build with Rojo at captain.
For me, when we're talking showdown and the payout is so concentrated at the top, I generally stray away from grabbing um, two guys like CD and Amari on the same team because, like, so if Amari goes 8 for 120 and a touchdown on DraftKings, that's what 29 points because of the bonus for like full PPR, and if that happens, Dak is probably gonna have a good game because I mean he has at least that plus whatever he throws to anyone else. But at that point, if Dallas throws for like 300 yards, CD's ceiling is significantly capped. So I and on my lineups that I have Amari captain, I'm not rushing C at all, which I mean obviously could go south, but I mean that's just what I'm thinking like game theory wise. What do you have? Like, do you have like any interest in a guy like Zeke, or are you gonna off him?
Not playing Zeke against that defense.
No. And,
Nah.
yeah, and that could work. It's just for that reason because Tampa is a great run defense. I do think Zeke comes in a little bit lower ownership, and I mean he could easily get stuff like 2 for 60, but he could score a touchdown. He could get 5 to 6 catches, And at that point, at the ownership, I think he's at least worth a look. I mean, I'm not necessarily going to go out of your way to like captain him, but I mean, there's a world where Zeke comes out with 20, 25 points, and I would be surprised. Just because he is a workhorse on a really good offense. So
That's true, but I could just as easily make an argument for Rojo, who's at home, who has the proven defense behind him,
mm-hmm.
And is going up against an unproven defense.
Mm-hmm.
So why would they not lean on the running game and just get it over with and get the W? I think it's going to kind of be easy sledding for the Tampa Bay offense.
What is your what's your opinion on the Tampa Bay running backs? Are you all in on Rojo? Do you think that I need to get some carries? What about Gio Bernard? I mean, because there's a lot going on there.
I definitely like Gio because they targeted him. So there were those roles in the past for Bruce Arians' offense, like Andre Ellington, who would like get hyper targeted out of the backfield. I think that's the role that they wanted Gio in, is this just safe, secure passing down role.
Mm-hmm.
A good route runner, and can pick up the blitz.
Yeah.
So Leonard Fournette and Rojo are going to be splitting the early touches, I think. But we've seen Arians in the past just kind of do that hot hand thing with those running backs.
Mm-hmm.
And Rojo is just like that guy. Leonard Fournette's past his prime. Rojo is still young. He's ready to hit the ground running. I think he's just gonna, even if he only gets 12 carries, he'll make the most out of those 12 carries versus Leonard Fournette and his 12 carries.
Mm-hmm. And if I'm not mistaken, Rojo is significantly cheaper than Leonard Fournette on DK. So Leonard Fournette is a guy that I have in most builds right now. And what's your opinion on the Tampa Bay receivers? Because for me, I'm putting AB in every lineup and not even thinking twice. Because I think the stat was he had the most targets per route run among all Tampa Bay receivers from week 9 on last year, which when he was there. So I mean, he's at a significant discount. Obviously, an all-time talent. I mean, coming back for his first full offseason with Tom Brady. I mean, that's the guy that went in every lineup for that cheap. What about you?
For sure. AB and Evans close behind him, because I think Evans could easily go for 160 and 2.
Yeah.
Just like that guy. And it's that game against a defense that's young and unproven. He's a baller and he's been healthy through camp. Godwin is like kind of iffy. I guess he had like a knee something.
Yeah.
His knee or leg. So Evans and AB for sure, I think, will be the top targets in this game.
Yeah.
And AB probably more in the short, intermediate, and take advantage of those slants. But if there's any deep shots, you gotta know it's Evans.
And a couple notes here. So, if you do think, and you are of the opinion that Tampa Bay goes out here and wins the game, they're gonna have to get up somehow. And I mean, there's a world where first, a couple notes on these receivers. When they were all healthy last year, they were all in 3 points per game of each other. And AB scored 4 touchdowns, Godwin scored 5, and Evans scored 6. So if you give them all roughly the same target distribution or touchdown distribution, they're all essentially the same receiver, and that is not how it's priced out. So I'm all over AB as price. I have him in essentially every lineup, but there is a world where AB comes out, he scores a quick long touchdown, and maybe even 2, and then at that point it's Rojo all day. So stacking those two is a little main stack that I like. I'm more of the Dallas stack because I believe there's better value, but I do have Rojo and AB that mini stack in a couple lineups because I think that's a very real scenario that could happen.
Yeah, I like that. I definitely think Rojo and AB are the top options for scoring touchdowns in this game. Mike Evans also, obviously, because he's going to dominate his opposing cornerback.
Oh yeah.
So what you say all that, and then it's hard to fade Brady, but They priced it in a way that it's tough to fit both quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Um, the only way I was able to do it is with Rojo, a captain, who is the cheapest of all of these people.
Yeah.
Um, I like Gallup because he's been healthy. He's got something to prove. He's going to be moving into the slot some because they want to get CD on those one-on-ones on the outside. I think he just kind of falls into some more targets. I see Amari as a decoy in this offense week 1.
Yeah. And that very well could happen. With a guy like Gallup, I mean, we're looking at a guy that had 30 DK points, I believe in week 3 last year, with Dak, but was very volatile with just 12 points per game on average in the first 5 weeks. Whereas CD and Amari had 17 plus points per game in the first 5 weeks with Dak. But the thing with Dak is, obviously there's the injury, obviously there's the harder defense, but this guy was on a legitimately historical pace last year in pass attempts, where he had 40 plus DK points in 2 of his first 5 healthy games, and Tom Brady never had 40 DK points the entire season in 17 games. So obviously, I mean, you can say the median production for Tom Brady is higher this game, and I wouldn't really argue with you, but we're looking at a near unreachable ceiling for Tom Brady, for a guy like that can get there so often. So I mean, just since the payouts are so top heavy in these big tournaments, and I'm playing tournaments, I'm opting for Dak over Brady most of the time, and just because I am rostering Zeke and Amari so much, I'm not really getting to Tom Brady that much. But I mean, like both quarterbacks in a game that could have this high of a total isn't a bad idea. I usually opt for Dak and his crazy ceiling, because I mean he really could break the slate if he goes for 4 touchdowns again, you know.
Yep.
Um.
That's why I have Dak and 2 of his receivers in my lineup.
Oh yeah, for sure. What is your opinion? Um. What's your opinion on these defenses and tight ends? Do you have any interest in some value, or are you kind of staying off?
It's a total punt.
Yeah.
Jarwin has shown the receiving chops. He's back. He's looked good in preseason, so he could easily turn in 50 on 3 catches. It's only 8 points, but
Oh yeah.
what does he cost? 3,500,
Something like that.
4,000.
Probably less. Yeah.
So I don't know. Does that have a place in the top lineup that wins the slate?
Probably not.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
That's like the beauty of week 1, and there's so much unknown after all the changes in the off season, and there's so much speculation built in. I just feel safe relying on the things that I know.
Yeah.
I know that Tampa Bay's at home. I know they have a strong defense, and those 2 things generally correlate to the running back having production.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna just bet on the cheapest one.
Yeah, 100%. So I mean, we've already talked about Rojo. We've already talked about AB, Michael Gallup. What is your number one value option for the slate? I mean, and if you want to do, you can go like running back and receiver, but just like someone down there that you're probably gonna never line up to fit.
Honestly, I would consider playing Gio Bernard.
Yeah.
He's only 2,000. So, if you wanted to play like a higher end captain than Rojo, and still fit possibly both quarterbacks, Gio is a piece that makes that happen.
Yeah.
So you could say him, and then it has to be Rojo. He's only 5K.
Mm-hmm.
He's like the cheapest player is going to get volume.
Yeah.
Like at least 10 to 12 touches against a bad defense at home. I can't pound the table enough for Rojo,
Mm-hmm.
and especially how cheap he is. I just think he's a smash play in my lock. That's why he's my captain.
Yeah. How do you see the distribution of carries going between him and Lenny? Do you see it 50-50? Do you see it a different way, or?
I see it as more like a 70-30 for
Really?
Rojo. I think that they want the younger guy to get the ball and do what they did last year.
Mm-hmm.
Save Leonard and keep him fresh for the playoffs or whatever. Like, I don't see why they would change what they did, and they have a fresh Rojo, so they should just use him, especially when they're ahead.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, Rojo is a guy that is notoriously not a great receiver, but with Gio Bernard coming in, um, I just don't see the utility of rostering Leonard Fournette. I mean, you could make the argument of him saying, "Oh, I mean, he could catch like 3 or 4 balls," but if Gio is gonna take the passing work, it just doesn't make sense to roster Leonard in any aspect today. So I'm with you there.
Yeah, Leonard Fournette is someone that's going to be a waiver wire pickup somewhere in the season.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not week one. Uh, right now, it's Rojo until he's either hurt or fumbles a couple of times, and then he finds the bench.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay, so we did a fair value. You said Rojo. I'll throw in AB as well. I mean, those two guys are someone I'm just stuffing in like every lineup. I mean, like I was
Maybe
saying,
what, only 5.6.
yeah, something like that. I mean, he's essentially the same player as Godwin and Evans last year, and he has a full offseason this year to play with Tom Brady. So I mean, he very well could be just as good or better, and he's just way cheaper. So I mean, I'm shoving him in. Who is your favorite pay up option? I mean, let's say like between guys like Zeke, the quarterbacks, the top receivers, CD and Mari. Like who's the one guy that you're like, I need him in my lineup?
If I'm paying up, it's to get outside of quarterbacks. Like, I just think that their overall point totals are much higher, or the ceilings are much higher than all the other players. So it's like important to me to try and fit both in if I can, because I see both of these offenses as the type that spread the ball around.
Yeah.
So that makes the quarterback more value to me over an individual receiver.
Yeah.
In like a Green Bay situation where it's a much more concentrated target share on Devontae Adams, I'm much more inclined to lean on him as a captain over a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
But to get back to this, Mike Evans would be the one that I would pay up for, because I think he has the highest ceiling of all of these pass catchers.
That makes sense to me. And like for a guy like Mike Evans that is notoriously volatile, I mean that's something that you take in tournaments, because like if you're not in the top 5%, you're not making any significant money, and just having Mike Evans as a captain and he explodes, I mean you're already in the money, and like everything past that is just cake. Especially when, I mean, like if this game miraculously has like 40 points scored total, and Mike Evans has like 14 of those points, I mean he's just gonna smash. So I agree with
For
that.
sure.
For
And
me,
I think about it like, if of all the receivers you're on the slate, who has the most potential to crack 200 yards in a game, do something stupid like that?
yeah,
Mike Evans is the guy to do that.
and
Or
Mike
at
Evans,
least I would put my money on him over anybody else.
right? And Mike Evans is probably the guy in most games that he plays, because I mean he just has this insane catch radius, this big jump out ability, and I mean it takes 2 plays for him to get to 120 yards, you know, and we've seen it multiple times every year. So I'm out with you there. For me, and I know you were saying you wouldn't want to do this, but a guy like Zeke to me is very interesting, even in a very tough matchup, because I mean, with Zeke, we're looking at a guy that scored multiple touchdowns in 2 of Dak's 5 games last year healthy. So I mean, if he scores multiple times, he's probably, if not the optimal captain, very close to it. He's a guy with lots of pass catching upside. In our game script, I mean, 6-8 catches is not out of the realm of possibilities, and I mean, despite not being an incredibly efficient rusher, and despite his offensive line getting hurt, I mean, we can see him get 20 touches on the ground, and if they're behind, a couple receptions here and there, and I mean, given the potency of this offense, I wouldn't be surprised if he scored multiple times. So, given that this is a tough matchup, and there are people like you that are looking at this and saying, "Hey, like this is a tough matchup," which like I agree with. I just tend to stick Zeke in a couple captain slots, because I feel like his ownership will be a little bit lower than it should be for a guy that is the only true workhorse in this game. So I'm
For sure.
I'm a fan of Zeke today.
Workhorse is the perfect way to say it. Like, I was just going to say, like, you take a step back and look at this game and you think about of all these players who are going to be involved, who's going to touch the ball the most?
Mm-hmm.
Ezekiel Elliott's going to walk away from this game with the most touches.
Yeah, easily.
Like, and it's probably not even going to be close.
Yeah.
So you can hang your hat on that and put him at the captain for that reason alone. He's simply going to touch the ball the most in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean Zeke, we've just seen him do it time after time, and like and for a guy like Zeke, even if you're not captaining him, I mean these workhorse running backs have an inherently higher floor, especially in PPR if they're catching passes. It's kind of tough to see a scenario where Zeke scores less than 12 or 15 points and he's getting this many touches. So I'm a fan of him. Do you have any do you have like a lineup that you want to share or like any other tips? Because I mean I have lineup, but I'll let you go first.
Go ahead.
Okay. So the lineup that I was very intrigued with was actually captaining Zeke, and then I can't hear. Actually, I'm gonna look it up. My image is gonna go away, but I'm gonna do this real quick. So I had Zeke at captain, which I was very excited about, and then let's see what the rest of it was. So I had Zeke, and then I had Antonio Brown, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, Rojo, and Dak Prescott. And what this does for me is the game theory here is we're looking at Prescott throwing to Cooper and Gallup and getting up early. And I'm a fan of Gallup for his price. Those two getting up early, and then Zeke just getting fed 20, 30 touches and then just eating there. And then obviously, I mean, you guys taking AB and Rojo at the back end. And Rojo has shown big playability. So even in a negative game script, it's possible that he rips off a big run. So once again, and this left zero salary, so I was very surprised. We have Zeke at the captain, then AB, Cooper, Gallup, Rojo, Prescott to fill it out. So that was my lineup that I wanted to share.
Okay, I like that. Mine would actually be very similar, with AB and Rojo on the back end of a Dallas stack. But I would put Dak at captain.
Yeah.
Because I think he ends up with, like you said, a 400-yarder.
Yeah.
4 touchdowns, trying to come back because Rojo and AB crushed him early.
Yeah.
And he has to use all 3 of his guys. So I have Dak at captain with CD, Cooper, and Gallup. And then AB and Rojo at the end.
And that's a really good lineup because I doubt people are going to roster all 3 of those receivers. And if this scenario does happen where it's a consolidated target share between these 3 guys, I mean, that lineup is just going to absolutely smash. So I'm a big fan of that. Do you have any Tampa Bay stacks that you want to share, or is that all you had?
The only other one that I like is the Rojo at captain, where you can get both Brady and Dak into that lineup. And then I give Dak, Gallup, and CD as his 2 options, trying to come back. So give him, he probably ends up with a little bit higher yardage total, 2 wide receivers to spread that yardage total in between. AB to finish the lineup because he's the cheapest option again and fits perfectly.
Well, I think I have all my notes out of the way. Do you have anything else that you want to discuss?
No, just enjoy the game tonight and look forward to doing another podcast about the main slate on Sunday.
Hell yeah, bro. Dude, I'm so excited for the game today. It's going to be awesome, man. It's going to be awesome.
Cheers to everybody watching NFL tonight, and we'll all be watching it together.
For sure, bro.